Hey all, Sam here. What we're going to do today is we're going to go through the top $1 million homes by state, starting with the last one and going all the way up to number one. Just a quick background on what the plan is here. I'm using homes that are for sale currently on Zillow that are priced between $995,000 and $1,005,000. So they're that $1 million price range. You get a good apples to apples comparison state to state. This is based on if you had $1 million, which state would be the best place to spend that money to get a house. Basically, based on the value of the house, there are some aspects of, which is a better state to live as far as tiebreakers go. However, the main focus here is if you had $1 million and you wanted the best absolute house for exactly $1 million, what state should you go to? So without further ado, starting with number 50. At number 50, we have Vermont. This house is 738 Stage Road in Pomfret, Vermont. It's for sale for $995,000, so right at our number. 4,300 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. This house is ancient. This is why this is the last state in our list here. This is just, it's too expensive to live in Vermont. You're buying a house that it's decent, but it's old as hell. The inside looks old as hell. You're talking about, look at this fireplace. You've got a fireplace from the 1700s here. You probably have hidden compartments and who knows what Revolutionary War stuff in here. This house will fall apart. If you drop $1 million on this house, you have to really love the aesthetic. You have to really love these cold Vermont winters, just kind of roughing it on a daily basis. It's a beautiful fireplace. If you had another $1 million to fix it up, probably a decent investment. Probably good bones here. They probably don't even make these beams anymore, although they're coming apart. But in general, if you only have $1 million, this is not the house you want. This is not the state you want to live in. You're just not going to be able to afford. I have to blur that painting. You're just not going to be able to afford what you're going to want in Vermont. So that's number 50. All right, number 49. We are now in Rhode Island. This is the same situation, very expensive, small state. You can see this is outside of our price range. That's because there are actually no houses for sale in Rhode Island for about $1 million. You have to drop down a little bit. Bigger house than the Vermont one. You see Vermont's 4,300. Rhode Island's about 5,000 square feet, 6 bedrooms, 5 baths. Same problem. This is an old farm. You're basically buying an ancient farm from the 1700s. It's cool, but I wouldn't want to live here. All this needs to be remodeled. This kitchen's terrible. These cabinets need to be gutted. This is just a very, very expensive project. Every single room looks terrible. The stonework's kind of cool, but again, you're talking millions of dollars in improvements here. Does have a barn, which is nice, but again, Rhode Island winters, cold, miserable, just kind of a dump. Decent sized yard. It is 86B Peep Toad Road I'm not even going to try to pronounce this city. If you're from there, I apologize. It's got a bunch of barns and haylofts and stuff, so it's a decent property. It's about 9 acres, so it's not small. There's definitely room for improvement. It's a newer building. Somehow just really fall into disrepair, probably because it's just an actual working farm for so long. Again, if you have $1 million, this is not the best place to drop your investment. Number 48. We are in Massachusetts. We have this cute little house here. It's $995,000, 3 Whitholm Road in Lee, Massachusetts. If you're from there or from Massachusetts, tell me down in the comments what exactly that city's like. I have no idea. Try to avoid the East Coast if I can, which is maybe why you'll see a bunch more of those on the lower end of this list. But 4,000 square feet, cute little house, 5 bedrooms, 4 baths, only 2 acres, so you're not getting a ton of bang for your buck. Obviously, being Massachusetts, not really a ton of outdoor activities. There's not pools or anything, but you do have a porch swing, and there's some pretty good fixtures inside. You kind of have to like this style, but they're kind of more ornate. Wallpaper is hideous, but does kind of blend with this atmosphere. Decent colors here on the wall. Kind of good old style, ancient house, 1880. Still got a boiler and steam. I I don't know if that's normal on the East Coast, but it's definitely not down here in Texas or on the West Coast. But yeah. Number 47, we are in Wisconsin. I guess this is a street number? S86W33550. Sounds like an alien zip code, but short drive in Mukwonago, Wisconsin. As from before, if you're from Wisconsin and know where this is, let me know about the area down in the comments. It's good, bad. What do you think about it? 5,000 square feet. I don't know if that's just a guess or if it is exactly 5,000. 3 bedrooms, 4 baths, so you got more, I think, living space than bedrooms here, which is nice. Newer house than what we're seeing on the East Coast. You'd think Wisconsin's probably a little bit higher on this list, but it's just kind of mostly generic homes. And you'll see that here. It's a decent sized house. You're getting a decent size. You're getting 6 acres, 3.5 garage. But this house is just kind of, it's not landscaped very well. It kind of feels a little claustrophobic. There's kind of just junk around. But it's a big, decent home. A lot of glass windows. It's well maintained inside. You can see like these floors and the moldings here. Actually, the ceiling is pretty cool here as well. I'm sure it's like a paint job maybe. But Wisconsin's going to drop a little lower on the list. It's cold. It's probably a little bit isolated of an area. Pretty basic tile work. Although this roof is pretty cool. Again, you're gonna have to clean up there though. Not the greatest project. It's an okay kitchen. There's nothing necessarily wrong with this house. If you have $1 million and you want to drop it in a cold climate, or you happen to live in Wisconsin, probably a decent shot. You could do a lot worse. Like I said, you can go to some of those more expensive cities, expensive states. But there's just nothing overly exciting about this house. It's cold. You can see from the pictures that make it look cold. You have a pond, but no pool, and it's kind of flat and empty, and looks like there's a lot of very, very rural farmland, which is not what you want when you're in Wisconsin in the cold, and you don't have tons and tons of acres. So again, that's why it's pretty low here on our list. With 46, we're going to go to Michigan, so right next door from Wisconsin. This is a absolutely massive house, and you might ask, Sam, why is this so far down on the list? This is why. It is in Michigan. I apologize to anybody who lives there. My experience with Michigan has been it is pretty damn awful. To Detroit once, and that is enough. Obviously, this is not Detroit. I was in Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor's a little bit better, but again, you're still in Michigan. The just general atmosphere, the political climate in Michigan is just not great. And then double that with the miserable climate, the kind of lack of anything to do. Pretty not great place. And again, I'm just on your state. I apologize, but make a better state. But this house, if it was anywhere else besides Michigan, probably pretty decent, probably rank a lot higher. 1265 Maple Lane. And again, I don't want to seem like I'm just on Michigan. This house also kind of large and generic. But you got some nice windows. If you have to live in Michigan for some reason, you work in the auto industry, whatever, decent house. It's not, there's something missing in this house. It feels kind of very sterile and empty, like a tract home that they just made much, much bigger. But it's definitely large. You have a lot of space to kind of expand. It has the indoor pool, which is awesome. So yeah, I mean, it's a fine house, but massive. Acres just have 16 acres, so you got a decent space. If this was anywhere other than Michigan, probably ranked a lot higher. At 45, we have Alaska, and I like Alaska, but Alaska has the same sort of problem that we're going to run into in a little bit here, in that very, very expensive houses or very, very cheap houses, and that kind of mid-range $1 million one. There's not a lot of houses in Alaska to begin with, so there's not many for sale in that exact $1 million range. And you can see this one is below our range as well as a couple that is that way. But it's just, for that range, you have very limited options, and for Alaska, anything in $1 million is going to just not be enough to buy a beautiful home in Alaska. The good stuff in Alaska is pricey, even it being remote. It is also farther down on the list just because you do kind of have to rough it a little bit with this house. You can see it's pretty isolated in itself. If you look at the map here real quick, you can see it's down here on the kind of beard part of Alaska. If there's a face. It's close to Anchorage, but it's just not in Anchorage, and it's not in any of the, couple bigger cities that happen to be in Alaska. And this house itself, so being isolated, you can kind of also tell that you're not going to be near a lot of amenities. The house itself doesn't have a lot of amenities. It's a bit of a rough, it's beautiful, you're right at this lake, but you're going to have to rough it a little bit, and it's going to be cold in the winter. If you're on here in the summertime, probably, if we're just doing summertime houses, much higher on the list, but little cabin, it can be cold in the winter, and you're going to be roughing it in the winter. So that's why it's so far. Like if you have $1 million and you're going to buy one house, you don't want to be struggling for survival in Alaska up here. You want to have a nice house with kind of a compound. And another thing I wanted to point out is I did filter for at least 3,000 square feet and at least 1 acre of property, because the point here is to find, like, if you're going to buy your own kind of estate, and for an estate you don't want an apartment. I'm going to exclude the apartments and kind of the suburban houses. Like, you have to have a yard, and you have to have a decent sized house. It's kind of hard, if you have a 1,500 square foot house, no matter how nice you make it, it's pretty hard to get on the same level as a house with 5,000-10,000 square feet. But again, beautiful little cabin, but it is a cabin. For 44, we're going to be in California, which huge state, lots of houses for sale. Anything in the LA, San Francisco, even Sacramento area, San Diego is going to be way higher than $1 million, or not even worth looking at. You definitely don't want to buy that. Anything for $1 million there, it's going to be a hole in the wall. This is up in Pine Grove, 1530-80 Loop Bay Road. I'm actually from this general area, just south of here. This is kind of the foothills of Sacramento. Beautiful trees, beautiful forest here. Ranked lower on the list because the house is, it's kind of dated. It's what you'd expect in that area. It kind of looks like a barn, but it's a beautiful little estate. You got the pool, the lighting, the lawn. You're kind of in the woods a little bit, but in town. Nothing wrong with it. It's not super big. You want to get 5 acres, but it's decent. If you have $1 million, you want to be in the California area. There's nothing wrong with this house. It's just there's a lot better you can do with $1 million than being near Sacramento and having your little 5 acres here. 43 and outranking California, we have South Dakota. South Dakota is a pretty good state, just economics and climate-wise, but obviously you're up in the cold, and it's kind of, you kind of have to like the aesthetic. What we have here is 12694 Argyle Road in Hot Springs, South Dakota. Again, if you're from South Dakota, the two of you that live there, if you guys want to comment where exactly this is and whether you agree or disagree with where this is on the list. Propane heat, built in 99, so recently new. But this is on 22 acres, so you do get a decent amount of space that if you want to expand in the future, you kind of have your own space. Custom built home, and it's beautiful. It's a nice house. Again, it kind of got a little bit generic feel to it, but there's nothing functionally wrong with this house. For $1 million, you can probably get a little bit better, which is why it's so low on the list. Kind of a view, very homey house. Definitely have your own space, so it ranks a little bit higher than some others. I mean, this view off this patio is great. Look at this, you can see probably 30-40 miles there. Game room, skylights. So it's, in the summertime when it's not freezing outside, great house, especially if you have family, kids, or CRT monitor for some reason. I don't know how old these pictures are. Yeah, so great for your own space, not so great if you want to be near anything or have a huge house. All right, 42 I think we're at. We are in Delaware, 12 Wilson Lane, Lewes, Delaware. If you know where that is, please comment down below. 4 acres, 3,300 square feet, 5 bedrooms, 4 baths. Nothing special at all. Again, you're dropping $1 million. You kind of want more than you would get somewhere else for 200,000. But the pond, basketball hoop, kind of your own space, surrounded by trees. Pretty generic. Like, this is a pretty basic house. If you were in anywhere in the West, this is a $250,000 house. This swamp also kind of makes me nervous. Again, comment if you are from Lewes or know anything about Delaware, whether this might come up. I don't know if this ever raises or if there's who knows what in there, but also if there's standing water, this might stink. So tell me about this water. I don't know what's going on there. But you also have a beautiful home next door that I'm sure is worth well more than $1 million, and you kind of get the not so great one on the lot, on the block. But yeah, it's just kind of a existing house. It's pretty much all you can say for it. It's not bad. It's inside is clean. It's decent. It looks new. When was this made? It was 2017, so it is new. But just boring. It's good, but boring. It's if you're going to drop $1 million, for those of you that have $1 million, there's no point. Unless you live in Delaware and just have to stay there. And now for the first of the worst, number 41. We are in Nebraska, 6280 County Road P35 in Blair, Nebraska. Exactly 1 mil, 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, 3,000 square feet, which is another reason this is on here. You think Nebraska would have some bigger houses for cheap because it's kind of an empty state, but apparently not. You're not getting very much other than this 20 acres down here. Built in 1990, propane heat. It's a small house, which is kind of why it's so low on this list. Nebraska's not high on people's list of states, so you kind of have to have a big house to make up for that. This isn't really going to do it. Custom house, 3,000 square feet. The inside is decent. It's a very nice house. Again, same thing, clean and nice, nothing wrong with this. It's kind of interesting. You get the microwave down south here, down below the cabinets. I also don't like how flat these are, but again, nothing really wrong with this. You got floor heat, which I think is more common for you guys on the East Coast. Actually, I've never seen this. Look at this fan. I wonder if that works. I think you need air coming from the sides for either to blow the fan, because the fan is either sucking up or it's blowing down, depending on how you it set up. And if you have it in this alcove like this, you're not getting air above. And if you're sucking up, you're just putting it in that space and it's shooting it right back down. And if you're shooting it down, there's nothing to pull in. It's basically blowing down here and not letting anything. That's probably not a great design. Also looks like the floor is not refinished over here. But yeah, again, the house it's not the worst. It's definitely a functional house. Just kind of generic and small. Basement space, which is nice. You can use that for something. It looks like they got a projector down here, surround sound, so kind of a game room. Nice patio, beautiful kind of view off your back porch there. Definitely need some landscaping. You have the outbuilding, which you can convert or raise animals or whatever you want to do out there. Yeah, just kind of generic, pretty big outbuilding. Looks like maybe a horse corral or a barn of some kind. Yeah, you definitely got horse features here, which add to the value a little bit if you're into horses. Nebraska laws. What does it say? Not liable for any death or injury. Probably some sort of actual horse facility here. So you can see, I don't know what the driveway is. It's coming in from here. Get your propane tank and your outbuildings. Where's that view off the porch? I think is this way. This might be a vineyard here too, which is kind of cool. We've got some amenities that you didn't really have in those earlier houses, but again, you probably don't want anything on this this video. Once we get into the higher level states, you'll see so much more beautiful houses. So I'm going to end this video here at 41. Next video, I will go through 31 through 40, and then we'll work our way all the way up to number 1. So I will see you in the next video.